In this episode of Other People's Airplanes, we fly around the world, or just talk about it. Welcome to Other People's Airplanes, the show that takes you inside the cockpit and along for the ride every time we do awesome aviation-related stuff. I'm your host, Damon Favor. Today I'm joined by Ryan Campbell, who is flying around the world. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm well, thanks. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Tell us a little bit about how you got your start in aviation.
I was 6 years old and I was actually taken up to the flight deck of a 737. I was introduced to the pilots. I got to see the switches and the lights, and that was it. You know, I was 6 years old and I was hooked, and I'd experienced that magic of aviation that continued on until I was 14. I decided I wanted to learn to fly, and I read in a local newspaper that you could actually fly an airplane solo on your 15th birthday, and that was nothing I ever comprehended. So after seeing that, it was a, if he can do it, why can't I attitude, and I got a job and set off to achieve that first goal, and on my 15th birthday I flew solo, which was a huge experience, and then it inspired me to move on and do everything I could at a young age, including private license at 17 and commercial at 18, and my IFR rating, and then my first job as a charter and scenic pilot before this whole world flight idea took off, and it became a full-time planning job. But my aviation was my stories. It's pretty exciting to show young kids that you can fly an airplane solo at 15. It was definitely something far from what I thought you could ever achieve.
And how old are you now?
I am 19 now.
And where'd you come up with the idea to fly around the world?
I've always wanted to fly a plane around the world. It's just, the way I explain it to non-aviation people is that it's a bit like a mountain climber wanting to get to the top of Everest. I think that in a single engine airplane, this is one of the coolest things you can do, and for me it is anyway. And I know it's like that for a lot of people. I had this idea, I wanted to do it, but I didn't think it was realistic. So what I did is I got onto a very well-known Australian entrepreneur who's not only a very successful businessman, but a 5-time around-the-world pilot by the name of Dick Smith. And I also emailed a man by the name of Ken Evers, who flew an airvan around the world in 2010. So between these two guys, we had 6 around-the-world flights. It got the better of me, and that's why I emailed them. Not because I thought it was achievable, but because I figured that, these guys might be able to give me some, encouraging words. Dick Smith said to me, if you can find support, I'll back you as well. And Ken Evers was that support. After 4 weeks of emailing, he offered to be my mentor. And once he offered to be my mentor, he'd given me 4 weeks of information on how to fly around the world. How would I fund it? We didn't have the money to do it ourselves. What airplane would I take? How would I get that? And all these little things, language and maps and planning. And so I had a basic understanding. I knew I could do it. I had the support from both Dick and Ken. And after that, I actually had to go and ask Mum and Dad. I hadn't been to Mum and Dad. I hadn't told my brothers. I hadn't told my best mate. I hadn't told anyone. So I went to Dad first, and then I went to Mum. I went to my uncle, who's a commercial pilot, and then I went to my flying instructor. And I got 100% support from all those people, and that's what I needed. Those people, along with Ken and Dick Smith, was my support team initially, and that's now grown, and 2 years later we're here in Oshkosh.
So you mentioned flight planning. What are some of the challenges of coordinating and planning a flight around the world?
It is a logistical nightmare, is how I explain it to people. For example, I had to have 3 drums of avgas shipped to an island in the Pacific at $900 per drum to be even able to have fuel there, and that had to be organised months and months beforehand. Customs and everything that you wouldn't imagine, insecticide sprays at top of descent, and all the forms and the paperwork, the overflight clearances. I've got a 162-gallon tank in the back of that aeroplane, and that is a modification which causes all sorts of different issues, and it's just an ongoing amount of work to tick all the boxes and make sure all the right people are happy.
Tell us a little bit about your aircraft.
It's a 2009 Cirrus SR22. I come over here to the States in January, and we went to lots of aircraft companies, and we had some great interest by a number of the bigger ones in particular, but in the end we didn't get any support from those companies, so I have actually rented that aircraft on an hourly basis to be able to bring it on the world flight. So that was just another challenge in the mix of things. But it is a private Cirrus SR22. It is 2009 model. It's running the Perspective avionics. It's got the 2 front seats still in there. The right seat becomes my little workbench with the life raft and and everything on there, my flight bag and the ditch bag and everything that I need. The front right footwell is full of hand pumps, electric pumps, all the pump system and hoses and fuel lines for the ferry system. And in the back, as I mentioned, is a 162-gallon soft bladder tank that gives the aircraft an overall capacity of about 252 gallons.
You're renting per hour, and you're renting to fly around the world.
Yeah, it's it's all part of the story. We went to the large aircraft manufacturers, and they were very positive to the point where I come halfway around the world in a suit to come and see them. Unfortunately, that didn't come through, and that's another story in itself. But this is what it's all about: is facing each challenge as it comes and seeing what it is. I had 2 aircraft locked away before I left, other private aircraft, and they both fell through. So it's just been a journey, and what I've got now is a phenomenal aeroplane. I'm just in love with it. It's, for what I want to do, it's perfect.
I'm almost afraid to ask, but how many hours is an around the world flight?
This is, by the time I flew it beforehand, got in the aircraft and fly it around the world, it'll be about 200 and maybe a little bit more. But to actually get the airplane around the world is about 160, 170 hours.
That's not a small number.
No, it's not. It surprises some people. Some people think it will be more, some people think it will be less. This is a pretty quick aeroplane. It has lost a lot of speed, having an underwing fuel line and a HF aerial on it, which is a good 10 knots taken off the speed, but it's still very quick. And that's what you need on a solo flight to get across those long legs quickly, is a fast aeroplane.
Are there any challenges that stand out in your mind throughout this whole process that you weren't expecting in a negative sort of light?
I think everything that we planned so well, that was the idea. I have every single flight plan put away in an envelope. I have 27 flight plan envelopes, and what I do is I pull out that, and I pull out, and that's the next day's flight, and I just put that at the bottom of the pile and pull out the next one. So by planning really well beforehand, there's been very little surprises. We've got a few things. We've had a few things with the aircraft that haven't been just mechanical. Little things that go wrong that normally wouldn't be an issue, but if you're in an island in the middle of the Pacific, they don't have a Cirrus certified workshop there, believe it or not. So those challenges, same thing. You just got to overcome them and face them as they arrive.
What about positive surprises?
The hospitality in your country and your airspace and your controllers and everything about general aviation in the United States is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The people that have looked after me, taken me flying, and I've got stagger wing time in my logbook now, and little things like that I wouldn't expect. I've never fueled the aeroplane myself, which is all we do in Australia. I've never chocked the aeroplane. I've never the service is phenomenal, and it's it's a credit to everyone here as to how welcome you've made me feel. And I think to have a Victor Hotel Oscar Lima Sierra call sign and to have this accent has made it a little bit of fun too. They just go, "Where are you from? What are you doing?" Really? But all in all, the Pacific was very hard, and the United States has been very relatively enjoyable with only a few challenges. So.
And how far along in the journey are you now?
I'm a little bit under halfway. I've had a lot of shorter legs across the United States. Now they all become long again. So I am heading on my way up through Bangor in Maine to Goose Bay in Canada, and I will then face the North Atlantic. I'll find myself hopefully at the end of that in Europe, and then I've got probably about 4 or 5 stops through Europe to then get me into Egypt and on the home straight, big over water crossings to get home.
And when are you planning to get home?
Planning to arrive home on Saturday the 7th of September into Australia. I do arrive into Australia about a week before, which is great because I'm back in my home airspace, and I'll be into Port Hedland on the west coast of Australia, and then I have to fly across the country to get home.
So I know one of the big questions that everybody's wondering is, how do you fund something like this?
That's the challenge. I mean, I'm not from a family that could, pay for it to happen. That's, so when this all happened, it was, can I do it? And when I said yes, it was, how are we going to fund it? And it was 2 years of fundraising. Like, you can see the aircraft looks like a race car, and we've got some amazing sponsors. Telstra's our principal partner. We've got a whole range of corporate sponsors. Then we've got the 500 Club, which is a sign written on the flaps there, messages and business names from all over the world. And it's just been a long process. We need to be able to, grab people who are interested in the flight and can see benefit in it for youth and all the causes that I'm trying to, strive to benefit. And, we're very lucky to have the support we do.
So, after you fly around the world, what's next?
I'm sitting here watching P-51s and T-28s and all these airplanes that I just, I give my right leg to fly. And, you guys have amazing aircraft here. You've got more T-6s in one row down in the Warbird section than we do in our country. I will be back here. I have a schools tour plan. This is the next step, a schools tour to benefit young kids, to educate them, to tell them what they can do in an aeroplane. This is, we don't have the Young Eagles program. I want to get that into Australia. I want to really get something going in Australia that young kids, if they want to learn to fly, it shouldn't be a painful experience for them. It should be pretty straightforward. So I'll do that. I'll no doubt do a lot of talking and stuff over the next 12 months, but then I'll be back here in the States. I'd love to get into some kind of right seat of a little corporate jet, and I'd love to that P-51 there, that'd do me. Something, I'd love to get into the Warbirds over here and see how that goes.
This is your first time in Oshkosh?
It's not actually. I've been lucky enough. We come 3 years ago. It's the last ever family holiday before my older brother moved away, and we loved it so much I could not sit at home and know that it was on the next year. So we saved up the money, and my brothers and I come back over. Last year was the worst week of my life. I sat and watched the webcams every day at work, and I was, the only thing that kept me going was that I knew that I'd be here this year. So I'll be back next year and probably every year after that, I'd say.
And your favorite thing about the show?
It's just phenomenal. I flew in here yesterday for the first time, and I got told to rock my wings. I got told good rock. I got cleared to land on the green dot, and I got welcome to Oshkosh. I thought, what else could I ask for? And I taxied into Phillips Plaza, and now we're here, at the Arch. So the interest in the flight's been amazing. It's a very different experience this time than it is, as a typical tourist with a backpack and a camera and sore legs. But I mean, you guys just have so many cool airplanes. It's mind blowing for someone from Australia, really.
All right. Any parting words for the folks at home?
Look, I think that there's a great opportunity if you have an interest in the flight to jump on the website onto teenworldflight.com.au. That then links you through to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole lot. We have a lot of updates every day, so it's a great way to keep up with the flight. Jump on Facebook and talk to us through there and see how the rest of the journey goes.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I will definitely be back next year.
For Other People's Airplanes, I'm Damon Favor.